Howdy y'all, JR Gamer here with another video just for you. If this is your first time here and you're looking for a relaxing space to evaluate gameplay, inspiration for your own projects, or a dose of daily awful dad jokes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel right now. And while you're at it, click on the bell to get notified when I upload more videos. Howdy y'all, it's JR Gamer once again with a new video from Planet Zoo. So we've been working on this Planet Zoo for about a week now, and I'm loving the gameplay. The gameplay is awesome. There's a lot of things to do in Planet Zoo, and especially the franchise mode. I think franchise mode is my favorite mode in this game. I can't wait for the full launch of the game because I think there's going to be so much more to do in franchise mode than there is right now. You know, I know there's a lot of designers out there, a lot of creators out there that are looking for the sandbox thing, and that's wonderful. And Sandbox and Planet Coaster was the best thing for me because their franchise mode, which they called scenario, was not the same as here in Planet Zoo. It was more geared towards individual zoos and creating scenarios for other people to figure out what to do with the zoos rather than the management of a zoo like it is here. So I'm really happy with this mode. This is exactly the kind of game that I like. I do the same thing in City Skylines, which I haven't posted on YouTube, and I'm thinking about it because I'm working on a project that I want to work on for City Skylines. But I play City Skylines within the budget of the city and do it that way. Maybe I use some mods here and there, but I love playing City Skylines within the budget. And so it's the same thing as this franchise mode. This is going to be beautiful. Planet Zoo actually came out and said that they're going to do an offline version of this. They haven't said what it's called. I'm all for it for those people who don't want to deal with the whole trading center and having to trade animals with other players. But I love that aspect of it. The fact that I can, genetically engineer an animal based on their genetics, and then sell it on the trading floor because of its genetics. Now, the one thing that I do not like about the trading floor is that it's player driven. The economy is player driven. I think there should be a limit. That there should be an algorithm that determines what the high limit is on the genetics market. So, taking into account genetics, age, all the factors, and set a limit. So this is as high as you can go based on the genetics that you have, not just willy-nilly, put something on the market and give it a price. I don't think that should be there. That's not the way it should be. I hope that Frontier takes that into account and listens to that, and they change that in the franchise mode online, because I think that'll help a lot in creating that system. But the system itself, I enjoy trading with other zoos. I think it's a wonderful process. So here in this particular video, I'm going to be building the rest of I've built the habitats for two animals. I've built the lemur habitat, and I've built a small animal habitat is what I'm calling it. And in that small animal habitat, I'm thinking I'm going to put in some peacocks and some turtles, some tortoise, some large turtles. So that's kind of the idea. We're going to start with these two animals, A, because they attract a lot of people, and people like to donate, and B, because they're easy to maintain. So that's kind of what the whole idea is for this particular part of it. Right now, I'm building all the backstage area for the zoo, putting down the quarantine, putting down the vet clinic, putting down the keeper huts for these two habitats. putting down the workshop. What else? Putting down the um, staff area, putting down the research centers, so that we have that backstage area. One of the things that I saw, for example, in the San Antonio Zoo is that the backstage area in the San Antonio Zoo is they actually have two. One is kind of on the side of the zoo, and then the big area is in the back of the zoo. Um, so I kind of want to follow that example. I'm gonna put kind of the smaller one for the small animal exhibits or habitats in the front of the zoo, and then the other much larger backstage area probably put it in the back of the zoo, and then within the zoo they also have, for for each particular habitat, they have their small backstage areas. Maybe a keeper hut, maybe a quarantine area. But like the vet surgery stuff, there should, probably two, depending on the size of the zoo that I get to do in the next week. Probably just two vet areas, um, and then kind of all the peripherals within the habitat, kind of hiding them behind each habitat. So that's kind of the idea of what I'm going for. I'm building my own. I know there were some on the workshop, but I really wanted to try out the building part of it, how much it would cost, all that kind of stuff. So, and I like these metal building pieces is what I chose, and because that's what I saw. I saw a lot of cheap metal building kind of pieces, kind of warehousey type backstage area. There's no theme to them. They're just metal roofs, metal facades. Um, that was pretty much it. Uh, the area also had fence around it, and then it would have vegetation overgrowth, so that people could see but really couldn't see. So that's kind of the theme that I'm going with here is that I'm gonna create basically the metal warehouse look to the backstage area, and then do kind of an overgrowth. In this case, I'm gonna use trees. That's what I want to use. I'm gonna use the trees in order to create that barrier on top of putting a fence, which is something that I saw in every zoo that I've seen. That the backstage area has a fence, whether it's a um, uh, what's it called? A wire fence, right? Overgrown with ivy, so you can't see or have overgrowth on it, or a wooden fence that you can't see, and usually it's about 6 to 8 feet tall. So that's the idea here is to create is what I'm gonna go for is create a backstage area with metal buildings, and then create a fence, and then use overgrowth to cover the rest of it, um, so that the people can't see it, the customers and the soup patrons can't see what it is, the backstage, except catch a glimpse or two as you look, um, as you look through the trees, or you look in between the slits of the fence line. The good thing is that I created sort of that's another thing I saw in the San Antonio Zoo is there are designated paths for staff. And one of the things that I liked is at the entrance of the zoo, you've got the big plaza, and then you've got the areas that go into the exhibits, and then off to the side, on each side of the zoo, is a staff path, and it basically says staff path, no entry, and it runs along the fence line of the zoo, uh, towards the back of the exhibits, of the habitats. So I kind of modeled after that. The same thing with the paths within the backstage. Is the backstage is one of the things that I saw is it's got a middle parking lot, and then an outside entrance from the highway or from the street, and then it's got paths. You get off of the parking lot, and it's got a path right down the middle, and then you've got or whatever backstage areas that they have at the zoo. are on either side. Now the big backstage area is a little different. It actually has holding pens in the back, so it's kind of a big warehouse barn looking thing, and then like a series of maybe 6 or 8 holding pens, which I figure is the quarantine area. Here, the quarantine area an inside type deal, but there in the San Antonio Zoo, it was more of an outside kind of holding pen type deal. Um, so I might emulate that, I might not. Here, it's the smaller area where it was just a bunch of buildings. And that's what I'm doing here, is just creating a bunch of buildings, putting together a bunch of buildings. Um, Metal buildings, just like I saw in the San Antonio Zoo. I'm really taking inspiration from them. I saw the same thing in the Dallas Zoo. They just have it in a kind of a different area, not necessarily at the front of the zoo, but more towards the back of the zoo. There's really nothing. There really wasn't any, except for the individual habitats that had their own backstage. There wasn't a big backstage area anywhere else in the zoo, in the Dallas Zoo or in the Houston Zoo. So I like the way the layout of the San Antonio Zoo. So I'm taking a lot of inspiration from the San Antonio Zoo, since it's close by and I can visit it anytime I want. So here I'm putting down the foliage. The great thing about this is I've realized that I can take a lot of the trees that are in the map and move them around. So I didn't have to buy trees. I just grabbed trees from other areas that I'm not going to use, and I started just plopping them down as foliage so that I didn't have to waste any money, which was kind of, well, I think it was kind of cool. I could do that I could just move trees around instead of deleting them and not getting any cash for them. I just moved the trees around and created the barrier. I also created a barrier, or a fence line, along the outside of the park, all the way to the entrance of the park, like most parks have, is they have a fence line up along the side of the park, and that's what I did right there, up to the entrance of that park. So we know, and I'm going to continue that fence line as we go along, and build out the zoo. That's where we're at right now when it comes to this. I'm putting down the donation stations for each of the habitats, the lemur habitat and the small animal habitat. Now, standing there at the lemur habitat, you can see towards the backstage. So I started plopping down more trees, so that we could cover that view. You can still kind of get a glimpse of it, but it's very hard to see what's back there, and that's what I was trying to go for. I would basically stand where the people were going to stand to watch the lemurs and look over that fence towards the backstage, and made sure that the trees covered the majority of the backstage, but you still could see some of it if you really, 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 really looked hard. You could see through the trees, to the metal buildings. You could see the metal buildings shining. Excuse me. Through the trees. So that's what I did. So right here, I'm kind of measuring it to see if people would be able to see it. Right now, I'm just making sure that there's enough power and there's a water pump to take care of all the water that I've plopped down. I put them behind the metal, the backstage area, and the mechanics can get to it because it's an open area in the back. So that's what I did with the water pump and the power station there. My mouse kind of got out of hand there. I'm trying to plop this last tree right in front. It was a big tree, so it could cover the sight line you could cover the sight line from the lemur habitat. You can't really see very well. So I've got 2 lemurs, I've got 2 Galapagos tortoise, and I've got 4 peacocks that I'm going to plop down. First, I'm going to put down a keeper, because you need a keeper to take care of the animals first, and then I'm going to give it a work zone. Here I called it the small animal and lemur habitat H work zone. So they're gonna take care of that area. I'm also going to plop down a caretaker because the caretakers are the ones that take the animals from the trade center and put them in their habitat. So I'm putting down a caretaker. And although in a lot of videos that I watched, it said don't hire the vet because it's the most expensive. We need to hire the vet because we need to start doing research. We need to do the enrichment. We need to do all that kind of stuff. And so only the vet can do research on the animals. So I hired the vet right away. And that's going to give me the opportunity to do the research a lot faster. And here I am. I'm plopping down all the animals. I started with the tortoise. I can't say that word for the life of me. I don't understand why I can't say tortoise. Shouldn't it be? It's not turtle because turtle is the smaller one. So anyway, I plopped down that. I put down some enrichment items, some food items. And I've got the vet is going to start researching right away. We're going to start with the peacocks because when I plopped them down, immediately the habitat was too hot for them, and so that's what I decided to do, is just get the peacock research going as quickly as possible. Of course, we have to work on the habitat so that it's perfect for both the lemurs and the peacocks. So that's what we're going to do next, is we're going to start working on, now that the lemurs are in, working on their habitat to make the habitat perfect for them. So here we've got both lemurs coming in, and they need additional smaller grass, and they need some soil, a lot of soil, which is what I'm doing right now, is brushing. And I love this. The system is the brush system because it allows me to just kind of create the habitat without having to worry about plopping things down. I can just brush in the soil that they need, which is a significant amount. I do both hard and non-hard soil, and then the trees that are in there just are not part of their same ecosystem. I wanted to do a really, as you can see, a dead tree type deal where they could climb on the dead trees, but it really didn't work. So I'm gonna delete the trees, and then these bushes here on the side apparently are part of the habitat. So I'm deleting all those bushes on the side, and I'm gonna replace them with these plants that are from their tropical area. So that way it's part of their habitat, and it's part of what they're used to. So I want to see, and I wanted to put this rope down to see if they also climb the rope. It's a decorative item. It's not. It didn't say it was a climbable item, but I've seen ropes as part of exhibits, and I wanted to see if maybe they would use the rope to climb, climb back and forth. Again, I tried to use the dead tree, but it doesn't work. So I'm gonna filter out those plants that are supposed to be in the biome, and it's the same green type stuff, tropical type stuff, a lot of banana trees, and I really like this tamarind tree. I just wanted to give the habitat some color, and I really like that tree. It's big, and I really love the way it looks. So now we go into the small animal habitat, and we gotta see what these guys need. Looks like they need additional shelter. There's not enough shelter for all the animals, so I'm gonna add a second area here for them to sleep in. Add some more bedding and see if that covers enough habitat area or enough shelter for them, hard shelter that they need. So that's what I'm gonna do there. I'm gonna And then of course I want to give them a little bit of privacy so that they don't feel like they're always being watched. So I think it kind of worked, but I don't think it was enough. I don't think it was enough. And these big trees are not native to their habitat. They're more of an Asian habitat. So I guess I'm gonna have to get rid of them. What I didn't think about was moving them somewhere else. I actually just kind of I'm gonna end up deleting them. I should have just moved them to the back and maybe use them at another place. I'm gonna add additional shelter because again, they're telling me that they don't have enough shelter. So I'm gonna add more, a different type of shelter on this side and see if that'll be enough for them. While I'm doing that, I want to let you guys know about what I'm thinking for the channel once the launch comes out. I talked about this in the prior video. I want to do that the first 100 subscribers that I get on YouTube, I'm gonna give them, a habit. I'm gonna build a habitat for them. In other words, the habitat's gonna be sponsored by them. Is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna give them a shout out on YouTube and thank them for being my first 100 subscribers. So, I ask that you take a look at it and subscribe to the channel. And if you're in the list of that 100 subscribers, once we launch this and we start building zoos, I mean, this is going to be a long time deal. I mean, Planet Coaster was 4 years. I really didn't do any videos, and I really didn't find Planet Coaster till about a year ago, and I really didn't get pretty good at building till about 6 months ago, and I did a couple of videos, and I'm still going to finish Planet Coaster. I've got a really good theme park going with Texas Adventure, but this is all about Planet Zoo. It's the brand new thing, and so I'm going to focus some of my energy in building a really nice zoo, same kind of theme that we're doing now. Of course, all of this is going to go away, so I don't want to do it right now, but I want you guys to get thinking that at launch, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a habitat, and I'm going to be sponsored by, whatever subscriber, going down the list from, 100 back to 1. And basically, my first subscribers are going to get maybe a bigger habitat because, they've supported me from the beginning. But that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do, is kind of include you guys in the process, and thank you by putting you in the YouTube channel, for subscribing to the YouTube channel at the beginning when I'm barely starting and I'm not all that good at what I'm trying to get done here. So I apologize for that. I'm trying my best. The other thing is, if you don't want to be in the Planet Zoo one, I'm going to continue with Texas Adventure, and I'm going to do the same thing, except in Texas Adventure, I'm going to create a, what did I call it? I called it a Great Hall of Subscribers. That's what I called it. And so I'm going to, similar to the Hall of Presidents at Disney, I'm going to do the same thing with the Hall of Subscribers and put my first, those subscribers that want to be part of the Planet Zoo or the Planet Coaster part, I'm going to put their names, maybe a likeness in that Planet Coaster, maybe an animation of some kind in the Hall of Subscribers there. So the first 100 subscribers are going to be immortalized in one of my videos for any one of my Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster projects. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. The other thing that I was thinking about at launch is every time we work on an exhibit or on a habitat for an animal, maybe do a short video about that animal, kind of an educational video about the animal, what its needs are, that kind of stuff. Not only what it says in Planet Zoo, but in real life, and then what we are doing to help that animal in the world. And maybe put a couple of links in the description of where you can participate, either through donations or through actions that you can take to protect the environment, the animal itself, if it's an endangered species, etc., etc. So I think that might be a good way of going. Maybe a 10-minute, 15-minute educational video on the animal. Maybe get some footage from from the internet, some footage from Planet Zoo, and kind of do kind of an educational video. I'm thinking about doing that as part of this series of Planet Zoo. Let me know in the description. Let me know in the comments whether you think that's a good idea, something that you would watch, that you would like to see. And it's just, kind of getting the educational part and kind of taking it that next level is what I'm thinking. Because that's what Planet Zoo is about. The whole purpose of Planet Zoo was to create a game. Yes, it's a video game, but also an awareness of what our planet needs and what these animals need. And so this is kind of what I'm thinking in helping Planet Zoo um, meet their goal is uh, greater education about each of the habitats and each of the animals that we're going to place in the zoo. So, you know, down in the comments, let me know what you think, whether this is something that you would watch, something that you would like to see, whether you'd be interested in doing that. Move the tamarind tree because I just saw my lemur jump on top of the rocks and almost get away. The good thing about it is that I put the barrier so high on the back of those rocks that I think once it hit the barrier, it and saw that it was so high and didn't have anywhere to jump, it came back into the exhibit or into the habitat. But still, I moved the tamarind tree a little bit closer to the shelter so that they wouldn't be able to jump on top of the rocks on the side of the habitat. But that was kind of cool, actually. I really, the realism of these animals is amazing to me. I really do think they've done an incredible job with this zoo. Yeah, there's still some bugs. Like right now, I'm trying to feed the lemurs, and I keep clicking for a keeper to come in, and they come in and they stand at the doorway. And I thought it's because it was high up and it doesn't look like they can get up there, and that's why I had created that kind of little ramp. But they wouldn't use it. They would just come in and leave, come in and leave, come in and leave. But eventually, from everything that I read in the forums and stuff, it's a bug that apparently, hopefully, they've fixed. Um, Although I did read the forum last night, and they said that the bug is still there. It's still happening. Um, so I don't know if it's a bug. Lady designer uh, has a video out that kind of explains how to get around this bug. Um, so hopefully, I eventually I try that, and it does work. They start feeding the lemurs again. Here I put the feeding tray all the way on the bottom, and they still wouldn't go, and they wouldn't go feed my peacocks or my Galapagos tortoise. Tortoise. There we go. I said it. Tortoise. 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 Maybe that'll stick in my head. Tortoise. Tortoise. So anyway, sorry about that. Um, maybe they'll be able to feed, but I keep getting the same thing. The keeper comes in, stands around, and goes back out, and I just couldn't get them to fill up the food. So hopefully the bug is fixed. Although there's an indication that it might not be fixed yet, but hopefully by launch date it does. So having problems now with the power and the water. Needed to get a mechanic over there as quickly as possible, so I plopped one down. So now I've got two mechanics. I need to give them a work zone, and I decided I forgot to put the workshop down, so I'm going to put down the workshop for the mechanics because they have to research other habitats, other enclosures. They've got their own research to do so that I can unlock a lot of the other stuff in franchise mode. I'm not going to use it right now. I I get a lot of the other content creators want to create these elaborate zoos, but I really believe in what the zoos are, and that the zoos are not, they don't have these elaborate structures. The focus of the zoo is the animal. Now, they have habitats that work for the animals, and focus on the animals and give people a sense of knowledge and education of the animal, but they don't create these elaborate, you know, theme parky kind of zoos. At least I haven't been to one, and I've been to a lot of zoos all over the country, not all over the world, but all over the country. And they're, unless it's Busch Gardens, which has a theme park, or SeaWorld, which is part of a theme park, um, the really they don't. The zoos are built around focusing on the animal itself and its habitat. And I think that's the mentality that I'm going into Planet Zoo with, where there is going to be some theme in the buildings, but it's going to be very subtle. It's going to be very. The only thing I can think of is subtle. It's not going to overwhelm the animals. The animals are gonna be the focus of the zoo, not the grandiose, over the top buildings. Okay, not to say that I've seen some beautiful buildings that have come out in the last week that I'm like, wow. But again, that's not my style. That's not going to be my style. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. I'm just going to focus on showcasing the animals. Here I had to put down some coolers, and that's why I did the research real quick, because I had to cool down. We're in the savannah, so it's really, really hot, and a lot of these animals need their environment to be a little bit cooler. The lemurs needed the environment to have a little bit more moisture. This, guys, I'm using the sprinklers to cool down, but I did plop down a couple of coolers for the peacocks because it was getting really hot and their habitat was really, really hot. Again, that was kind of what I was going for, trying to lower the temperature inside the habitat. Here, I wanted to see what the heat maps were telling me in terms of what was needed in the habitats and for the people. Again, a lot of research, a lot of tried to create the enrichment aspect of it. So I started building enrichment into the habitats. Plop down some of the enrichment things that the lemurs and the peacocks and the tortoise needed. Trying to keep it, the management aspect takes a lot of time. So building something, also it kind of slows down your building process, because you got to make sure your animals are in good health, they're in good condition, that things are going, and that you're making money. And that was one of the things is I started losing money on this habitats as the animals were not feeling completely healthy. People would not throw any money into the donation boxes. So the more I moved around, the more I tried to build in the habitat. Like here, I'm going to expand the shelter because the tortoise, now I can't say it again. The tortoise needed a lot more hard shelter. It was asking for more hard shelter, and so I tried to expand the shelter where I saw the tortoise sleeping, but it really didn't increase the shelter by much. So I haven't really figured out what the tortoise needs in terms of hard shelter, where it would give me the full shelter. But eventually I will. I actually took them out of there, and I sold them on the trade center because they were dying on me. They were starving, and I didn't want them to die, so I sent them off. I sent them off into the wild. And then I'm gonna I build another, specifically a tortoise shelter or habitat on the other side of the park. And just kind of created one specifically for them so that I can get their needs all together. Here I'm gonna add some food and drink because I'm losing money. and B, the customers needed some. I wasn't gonna build my own. I saw some stuff on the workshop, and I'm just gonna use for now, just use some of the workshop stuff to build it out, and then hopefully once we generate some more money, I'll revamp that area and create a nice restaurant, gift shop type area for the people when they come in. So but right now I just needed something quick that I could buy straight off of the workshop because I was really losing money, and so I was hoping to get a little more cash flow by selling some stuff. So here, guys, I'm going to give you a really good look at the beautiful lemurs that we have in the zoo. This little guy is asleep. He's a cute one there. Um, we're going to go into the camera mode and watch him sleep for a little while, watch him run around. Um, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. More to come as we continue to expand the zoo. These little guys I'm hoping will breed some more little guys, and if they do, I'll bring you that video as well. Of course, there's always glitches. It's a beta version. He's gonna go right through right through the stone, but that's okay. There's always glitches in a beta version. Hopefully all these things are taken care of at the end. It's so hot outside, he's gonna take a little shower, jump around in the sprinklers. So guys, thanks a lot for watching the video. We'll see you next time. Adios.
Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the content, click the like button below. Remember, if you're looking for a relaxing space to evaluate gameplay, inspiration for your own projects, or a dose of daily awful dad jokes, subscribe to the channel right now and click on the bell to get notified when I upload more videos. Until next time, adios.